Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored with Steve Taplin.
Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored, where tech leaders drop the filters and just tell it like it is. I'm your host, Steve Taplin, serial entrepreneur with 30 companies under my belt. 20 of those failed and 10 succeeded. And that roller coaster of a journey I turned into my latest book, Fail Hard, Win Big. This is my story, how I show how custom software development, along with making sure you use failures to fuel yourself versus let you get it down, is what the book's all about. Now I'm the CEO of Sonatify Technology. We are a nearshore software development company, and we help others build enterprise level software. Today, I am joined by Anthony Presley of Fort Worth, Texas. Anthony is a founder, advisor. He's been a chief product officer and now is CTO. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Appreciate you letting me on.
And, based on, just the intro we did prior to taping, your LinkedIn profile says software exec and tech nerd. And I don't think you're a tech nerd.
Well, I'm definitely a tech nerd. There's no doubt about it.
All right. I guess we'll see where this conversation goes. Anthony, give our listeners an overview of the journey of your career.
Yeah, happy to do that. I'll start with something that's a little bit unique, although my dad was in the military and I got stationed overseas. He got stationed overseas. And so in 7th grade, I got taught how to use a computer by an Apple fellow who had taken a sabbatical, someone who had worked on Apple systems long ago. And that actually started my interest in software, and HyperCard and was kind of my first programming language, and got to do that. And then when I got back to the States, I didn't want to necessarily flip burgers or work in retail. And so I started a software company in high school, started building software.
In high school. Wow.
Yeah. Built something called School Lock. I was super excited about it, but it allowed school administrators to lock down Windows computers so that they wouldn't get wiped out by students like me who might format all the hard drives in the computer lab. This would have been 1996, so a lot of the modern, security things didn't exist at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I started that. Got a little bit of trouble from my parents for posting our phone numbers and address online. Apparently, that was not something I should have been doing as a 16-year-old or whatever at the time. Went to college, took a software company with me. I had gotten hired by a custom software shop in high school, actually. Went to college, did a summer with Raytheon, working on stealth ships. That was kind of fun. And then while I was in college, built up a software company doing custom dev. With about 60 employees. That company did not survive impact with the Federal Trade Commission. One of our customers did something he should not have done. And so 99% of our revenue disappeared. Yikes. And I thought I would go build some software so that I had a product rather than custom software. So did that for quite a while. Built a company called TimeForge, and then we exited that, and I went to go work growing a fast-growing software company out of Lubbock, Texas. So if you've shopped in grocery in North America, use something that one of my teams probably built for you. So that was a lot of fun, vertical-specific niche software, and had a ball doing that. And then in 2020, I went to go work at Custom Business Solutions, where we run a team nearshore, offshore, but we touch about 11,000 restaurants in North America, and that includes some big name brands like Cheesecake Factory or P.F. Chang's, or even smaller, more regional brands, but lots and lots of restaurant tech. It's been a fun journey.
So, Anthony, being a CTO is definitely a tough job. You have to have the mix of technical chops. You got to make non-technical business leaders, board members, investors understand what's going on. You got to quantify your existence to the CFO who only sees in spreadsheets. And it's been a volatile space. I always like to ask, so how did you get your role as CTO at Custom Business Solutions?
It's, as you pointed out, it's a lot of managing constituents, but I would say it's, CBS happened to be in the look for a new CTO. That's important, right? You got to have an opening. But, I would say that most people tend to think that CTO is like the most technical person. I might be a very technical CTO, but I think generally it's more of a people or business leader role. That's right.
Yes.
Being able to manage up and manage your peers and be able to manage your team to get the business results you're looking for. And so in this case, had a partner that was a partner of ours when I was at Truno, and CBS was a partner. And if you walked into a grocery store and needed to get, think about like a Whole Food, something we call a grocerant. And so we provided the kiosks and that need and facility. And after I left Truno, I was looking for a new role and had worked with the founders at CBS, and they said, "Hey, our guy left. He went to go run another PE-backed firm. Would you come help run this?" And so, yeah, it's a
Gotcha.
fairly short story.
They had an opening. You had an existing relationship. That's what paved the door.
That's it. Yeah, they'd and then we'd worked together, and I guess they'd seen me in action for better or worse for a couple of years. So
awesome. I always like to ask people that because I don't know. Very few people are getting jobs by just CTO level jobs, or others for that matter, by just clicking on a LinkedIn, job ad or anything else. So I always like to have people talk about how they've gotten their current role, because certainly a lot of our listeners are either looking for new roles or between roles right now. And so I always like to share that info.
Yeah, that's it's interesting because I know a lot of engineers that, and you probably do too, they go build really cool products and they're at some large company and they go, "Hey, I can do this my own." And they go spin out and they're almost always frustrated with the sales side. And it turns out that network is both for moving up and moving laterally and then going and doing your own thing. Having that network is probably more important than the product, it turns out.
No doubt. All right. So talk to us about some current projects you're working on.
We are working on 2 or 3 things that are pretty interesting. I think we've got everybody does modernization projects, right? And it's a modernization project, but we're redoing a lot of we started life as an iOS app. Funny enough, technically we started as a Macromedia Flash app. And then we became an iOS app, and we have a Windows version. And so we just started on a .NET MAUI project. We actually did the kickoff call today, and we are building and taking our whole code base for our point of sale system and migrating it to be a multi-platform product with one code base. We've been working on this off and on in small spurts over the last 2 years, and think we know what we're doing. So we're gonna go give that a swing, but trying to make it so that because it turns out in point of sale in restaurants and in general retail, one of the hardest common delimiter is always the hardware stack, not software. It's not a browser. You can't just open it up and have to deal with mobile or tablet or desktop. You've got to deal with a 10-year-old piece of hardware that a credit card provider has to put a stamp on. And that's hard, needless to say. It's really, really hard. It's also usually 10-year-old hardware. So all the newest, latest, and greatest whatever is not going to run on it. Almost never.
Definitely brings some interesting challenges to the table.
Yeah. And every one of the credit card providers gets a say at what is PCI and what is secured and what's certified on their platforms. So different hardware devices for different providers, and we've got to build software that runs on all of it. Needless to say, a very, very challenging thing to do.
Awesome. All right. So tell us more about your engineering team, how many you have, how you structure the team, your working model.
Yeah, we've got engineers all over the globe. I think we're in Canada, the Philippines, El Salvador, and then we use some other, Upworker type contracting work as we get to it or need to flex the team a little bit. The team though is structured. We've got really kind of 3 folks that report on the dev side up through me. One's our amazing product manager, and he's got a team under him as well. We've got a group that report to our development manager. She's fantastic and runs the team out of El Salvador. Yes, for counts, I don't know. There's probably 10 or 12 folks that are on the dev side with her. She also runs our QA team. And then we've got our lead architect, and he's got a small team of architects that work on his platform, and they tend to run out in front of everybody and try something and break it, and then they come back and go, "Hey, we figured this out," and the rest of the team will pick it up. But Total all in close to 30.
Gotcha. And you look like you're in an office right now. Are you guys
I am.
on-site, hybrid type environment?
We are definitely hybrid, and it depends on your role in our company. Because we do so much work with hardware, you have to have a warehouse, and you have to do staging, and somebody's got to be there to pick up the boxes from FedEx for printers and credit card devices and monitors and kitchen equipment, and you've got to unbox it and stage it and box it back up. So as a tech company, we are one of the few that really can't be 100% remote.
Gotcha. So your engineering team, is anyone on site?
On the engineering team, we don't have anybody that's on site full time. We've got plenty of folks that come in, once a week, once every other week, or like today we were doing some staging testing environments where we set up 30 terminals, and we're doing testing, we'll call it load testing, speed testing on 30 devices, and had a bunch of people come in, and because you have to have a credit card that you can swipe and test with. And so a little bit hard to do that testing remote as well.
Gotcha. Interesting. So as a CTO here, as we're halfway through 2025, what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing now?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say, everybody and their mother is trying to figure out what to do with AI, whether or not you're AI forward or an AI laggard. And I think we're always trying to figure out what that means from a privacy perspective for a lot of our customers' data. I've been building AI systems and machine learning systems since, I don't know, 1999, long time. Not as long
That's
as some,
before
but
AI was cool or more than just a
it was
buzzword.
way cool, right? Yeah. I remember building my first AI app. It was a labor scheduler, and I went in and showed a customer CEO of a brand and said, "Hey man, let me show you how this thing will build a schedule for you in just a few seconds." And he said, "Anthony, I already pay my managers to build schedules. Why would I pay you for software that does what I'm paying my managers to do?" That was 2007.
Did you smack him in the head or?
I should go back. I should time travel back and smack him. But no, I didn't. Yeah, so we're back to what we're working on. We're AI, and what that means, and how smart it can actually be. Does it understand when you say, "Hey, I want to know how many covers I had"? That means the same as transactions, which means the same as something else, but maybe only to this one restaurant brand. A different restaurant brand may have a different lexicon, and so we're trying to figure out the AI thing. We're also heavily invested in this net MAUI conversion and trying to make sure that gets converted the way that we want it to and on the time frame we want it to. Yeah, I think those are the big things right now. And we're always looking for efficiencies and tools. What kind of tooling can we do? We recently went and looked at some of our static code analysis and check-ins on our pull requests and found that we were overpaying for some tooling, and went out and found an AI startup of all things and dropped them in and cut our price in a tenth. So we're always looking for that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Have you guys integrated any AI tools into your engineering process?
We have. We've messed around and have a cursor in some places that we're using. That's going on. I'm a big fan right now of Lovable and having our product and our engineering teams do mock-ups. None of that code's made it out into the wild yet, but we can build. I can give that to somebody on the sales team and say, "Hey, go talk to this thing and make it do what you want it to do before we actually go build much here."
Lovable is a great tool for quick prototypes, and the fact that it does produce real code is nice.
It is. I haven't deployed any of it yet. Have you?
We have, from creating prototypes in Lovable, but we did have to change a lot, but not solely because the client direction changed for what they wanted, but it did give us a good a code base to build off of versus having to start from scratch.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's what we're seeing. Our one that's furthest along in our little prototyping stage. I think the code will be usable. Yeah. So we like that. We like Cursor.
Now, Cursor is definitely a great tool. It pissed a bunch of people off, though. They've changed their pricing model a bit. Definitely, you have to laugh because whatever tool you're using, an update of another tool can come next week that'll blow it away. And so it's usually a juggling act to stay up with them.
Yeah, no, I would say that's the first 6-8 months of all these tools hitting the market, I think we all burned ourselves out because we'd pick one, it was the best one, and then 2 weeks later there was another best one, and 2 weeks after that there was another, and it was like, okay.
It's a little overwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. So now we're in the market for I don't know if you've got a great suggestion, one that will do code reviews and something we can integrate into our pipeline there. I haven't settled on one yet, but that's what our next piece will be.
And yeah, I mean, anything we talk about will be outdated.
Right.
Certainly GitHub Copilot, we've done code reviews with some good luck. With Windsurf, we've done that. And it's funny, I give a big but because anything we talk about will change. And anything I'm talking about my team might have already changed and because of a limitation. So it's definitely can be overwhelming to stay on top of them.
Yep. No, I totally get it.
Interesting. So, as a guy who's been doing this a long time, what's a big piece of advice and a brutal lesson you've learned that you would, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self how to act different, which something you've learned through scars and what you've done, what would that be?
Gosh, that's a hard question. We actually touched upon it earlier, but I think especially engineers often get really excited about the work or the product and they don't go build their network. And I think that younger me probably would have gone out and built more of a network. First 10 years, I would say, had I been doing that, then, a little bit like your investment nest egg, it probably grows over time and has some interest capabilities there. And if you start with a very small network, then you've got to really hustle to make that happen. So, but I think it's hard. My last company, our VP of engineering was not on LinkedIn. So had plenty of folks that it's hard to do the social networking thing and growing your network and keeping up with everybody. But I think that's probably the number one thing I would tell a younger version of myself.
Well, and the best engineers are usually the ones that could put on headphones and focus and aren't always the best networkers. They're good at, figuring stuff out, getting in the zone and, doing what they do.
Yep. No, that's totally correct. And they do a great job of it. But, it's one of those things when at some point in time, if you don't want to do that for the rest of your life, you may that network matters.
You got to plant those seeds early.
Right.
So you have a global team as part of your engineering team. How do you manage time zone differences? How do you make that work?
I've outsourced over the course of my life to pretty much every country you can put an outsourced team in, including building some from scratch, like actually going to that country and putting teams together. And so there's lots and lots and lots of wrong ways to do it, but I don't know that we're doing it the right way. So I'll just preface with that. But we tend to do things asynchronously. So we use some tools like DailyBot and some others that do check-ins and essentially stand-ups. And we are more of a Kanban shop than anything else. And so we do some sprint planning and, a lot of that can be done asynchronously. And then we honestly pick a time that everybody's got to flex an hour or two. And then we do hold our weekly meetings through there or bi-weekly meetings through there. That being said, we've tried to stay plus or minus central time to a large degree. So we have some folks that are in Montreal, that's Eastern. And then we've got some folks that are in Central and Latin America, and they're plus or minus central time. So that leaves, a couple folks in the Philippines, and we try and work around their schedules as best we can, and they work around ours as best they can. That's my political non-answer. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Anthony, thank you for getting uncensored with us today. You're definitely one of those hands-on engineers who tackles a tough job. Like I said, CTO, I think, is one of the tougher jobs out there right now. To use your words, managing both up and down with non-technical parties that can be frustrating. Before we wrap up, any final advice you'd like to give to tech leaders?
Right now, I would say just back to your analogy, put your headphones on and focus on what you need to do. I wouldn't be so worried about, there's a headline every day about AI and the drones are coming for us and all of this. I don't know that I'd worry about listening to your customers and your users and putting good products out and not worry too much about it.
Love it. Anthony, thank you so much. That's it for this episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm Steve Taplin. If you like the show, hit subscribe. If you didn't like it, well, why don't you go tell your competitors about it? They could probably use the help. Remember to fail hard, win big, and build what matters. Until next time, thanks, everyone.
That's a wrap. Another great episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this show. I love talking with great tech leaders. As a side note, if you're interested, check out my new book, Fail Hard, Win Big. This is the story of how I built 30 companies, failed on 20, and turned 10 into multi-million-dollar wins. The common thread with all of them was custom software. Also, if you need software development help out there, my company, Sonatify Technology, we deliver world-class software development engineers out of Latin America. We have a solid track record of helping companies launch better products and faster. Thanks again for listening. Appreciate it and appreciate you.